So, someone commented on one of my previous videos asking for this, my take on Cuties, the film. Bit late, 2 years after, but I do think a lot of people have missed like a really important part of what Cuties was about. So everyone knows Cuties film hypersexualizes children in order to comment on the hypersexualization of young girls. That's the take. That's the take that everyone had, apart from Mr. Girl, who seemed to admit he was a paedophile. Anyway, we'll get to that in a bit. So, this film, set in France, it's about a young girl who is from a Muslim background. That's a part that no one really wants to talk about in this film. It's a very important part of this film. Everyone glossed over that. She's trying to find acceptance amongst her peers. Obviously, she's changing, you know, as a teenage girl, as a teenage anything does. That's all you're doing, is changing constantly. And so she joins this dance troupe, whatever. Super sexual. One of the girls in particular is like way OTT. But hey, you get that. You get that in life, you know? And for me, what that film is about is the battle between progressive ideals and traditional ideals, particularly with regard to femininity and female sexuality and what it is to be a woman. I think what the film shows is that either extreme of, you know, progressive femininity or traditional femininity, it's both bad because it's always looking at women through the male gaze, and women have to consider who they are based on the male gaze. Always. Society's judgment of women is based on the male gaze. So either you do all you can to get sexual attention, you use that female sexuality to get ahead, or to get attention or whatever, or you do the opposite and you do modesty and you do whatever the fuck your husband tells you. There's a huge part of this film that no one I've seen has commented on, which is the mother's story. And what we see with the mother is that her community tell her that she must accept that her husband is bringing a second wife home, because that's what you do as a wife, as a woman. In her community, as a woman, that's what you do. You put your husband first, you put your husband's desires first, you do as you're fucking told, and you put up and shut up. That's it. And her mum's really struggling with this throughout the whole film. It's part of the reason she gets so angry at her daughter, is she's there trying to deal with the fact that her husband doesn't love her and wants someone else. And she's being told by all of the women, all of the elders around her, you do what your husband wants, lady. So she lashes out at her daughter when her daughter is doing the exact opposite, you know, doing what she wants based on progressive society's values and ideals for a girl. And I think it's a really interesting commentary on, like, when can a female become sexual? At what point is that acceptable? And does female sexuality always have to be about how men perceive it? Because seemingly, according to this film, yes. Either you suppress your sexuality and you are modest and you don't complain, you just, those are the cards you've been dealt, deal. Or you do the exact opposite and you do something just as extreme and you sexualize yourself, commodify yourself in the name of feminism and sexual freedom and feminism, you know? And both are just as bad as each other, because it's always about how men are perceiving you, because that is ultimately what women have to deal with. And it's this interesting take on, you know, as a woman, you've got the Madonna whore complex. Either you're a good woman or you're a bad woman, and that's it. And if you're bad, if you're a bad gal, which all of our music is telling us, by the way, that's a good thing to be. If you're a bad girl, you abandon all traditional norms for women, but always you're hypersexual for men. That's still the underlying part of this, is like, it's always for men. Like, or you revert to traditionalism and you cover yourself up, once again, for men. So you can be respected by men. But those men get to disrespect and respect whoever the fuck they want, and they'll be seen as a nuanced being who, you know, it has good and bad in them completely. Women don't get that option. You're either good or bad, that's it. Bad girl, twerking. Good girl, cover up, accept that your husband doesn't want to fuck you and that he wants to fuck some other woman and he's going to do it whether you like it or not. And that's that. That's it. And cover your goddamn hair. Because even though your husband doesn't want to go near you anyway, you still need to make sure no one else comes near you. And I think that is the aspect of that film that everyone's just like not talking about. And you know what that means? That means as a society, we're likely to revert quite dangerously back to that kind of traditionalist way of thinking. And that's scary, honestly, because we're going to have this wives, respected, whores are free kind of thing going on in society. And husbands, boyfriends, whatever the fuck, Do what you want, mate. Just don't tell people. I think a really interesting part of the film is that there's a lot of female shame everywhere on both sides. So the mother feels shame about the fact that she isn't good enough for her husband. By the way, in Islam, she's meant to consent before he goes and gets another woman, and there's meant to be a need as well. And you're meant to be financially secure enough to have that many wives. They are not living in, you know, luxury or anything. So really, like, this is the problem, is like, it's all for men. It's it shouldn't be that way. And again, with the daughter, she ends up like taking a picture of herself down there and posting it to the internet, looking for societal acceptance, looking for community, looking for attention, looking for love. And the wife does the same. She's like, well, you know, she's looking for love too. So she'll do what she needs to, or what she thinks she needs to do to get that, same as the girl. And I think really we need to be talking about the fact that good, bad, traditional, progressive, whatever, it's always based on male gaze and what men think. And then that's the societal norm. You know, men would love to see women scantily clad, and particularly teenage girls, actually. That's something everyone seems to have glossed over as well. Everyone's like, yeah, if you watch Cuties, you're a paedophile. If you enjoy Cuties, you're a paedophile. And it's just material for paedophiles. And it's like, okay, but then a lot more people are paedophiles than we're willing to admit. Because let me tell you, from the age of, well, as soon as I went to secondary school, from the age of 11 until the age of 19, that's when I used to get the most male attention. I used to get bibs from cars, all of that kind of shit. As soon as I didn't look like I had a teenage body anymore, and I looked younger than most, I got less attention. And this is a conversation women aren't allowed to have in society either, because men don't want a societal conversation about their inclination towards predation and teenage girls. And any time an older woman tries to tell a teenage girl, hey, I see what you're doing, I see why, I know why, I've been there, you know, but maybe that isn't the kind of attention you want, really. And you'll realise in a few years, and everyone always goes, you're just jealous, you're just an old bitch, you're just jealous you're not getting the attention anymore. And I used to do that, by the way. I used to think exactly that. I used to be like, attention, I like it. Well, no, actually, I didn't. It depended. A lot of the attention was just very unwanted. I don't think I ever had anyone tell me, actually, like, You don't want that. Actually, no, I definitely didn't have that. That's a conversation I could have done with, actually. To be like, it's okay to not always have to do everything based on male sexual attention, you know. Yeah, anytime an older woman says that to like a teenage girl in society, you know, publicly, everyone's like, oh, you're just jealous, and it's like, well, or they just know something you don't about men. And it's fine, you know, if you're a teenage girl and you want attention and you're just like exploring what it means to be a sexual being as a teenager, that's fine. But we as a society should protect them from weird shit. In the same way, teenage boys should also be protected from weird shit. We've found out over the last couple of years there are a lot of friends' mums who find it really gratifying to like take a boy's virginity and shit. Like, it's so fucking weird. It's actually grim, bro. Like, what? I think teenagers should just be allowed to be teenagers, you know? And then there's this thing with this film is like, everyone's like, oh, it's for paedophiles, it's for paedophiles, it's for paedophiles. I think as a society, we've forgotten that a lot of art is meant to make you uncomfortable. I felt really uncomfortable throughout the whole film, really. I do think grown men saying that they found it arousing is worrisome. But realistically, like, there are a lot more men that feel that way than would admit. There are a lot of men out there that are disgusting. A lot more than we care to admit. I mean, what? Are we even questioning that, like, the biggest leaders of the world, all known now to have been paedophiles? Ghislaine Maxwell, international human trafficker to some of the most famous, rich and influential people in the world, and she got convicted without us knowing who these children were trafficked to. I mean, do you need more evidence? And I think that's why this media storm went the way it did. Because everyone can just go, paedophilia bad. Cuties bad. Child exploitation bad. It's like, yeah. But it's also sewn into the fabric of our fucking society. So let's talk about that. And this is always the take with paedophiles, and I get it. I do get it. Like, we should just kill them, just fucking lock them away, blah, blah, blah. And I honestly think the reason that so many men react that way is because they don't want to talk about the fact that actually there's a hint of paedophilia in them. You know? There's a reason teen is like one of the biggest searched terms on porn sites. It's not because you're all looking at age-appropriate women, you know? I get it, there's a biological blah, 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 blah. But, like, let's talk about it. And I think that's what this film is trying to do. And no one... Everyone just got to do the typical paedophilia bad take. And it's like, yeah, original, very original take. The other thing everyone kept saying is, oh, it's so crazy that these parents would even let this happen. Child exploitation, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure. But there are so many examples. I mean, probably every child actor has been exploited. I mean, you know, something I always find really uncomfortable and weird is like, in fact, I saw a scene on YouTube Shorts the other day of this scene, I think from The Walking Dead, where there's a guy goes to grab a baby and he's got his hands around its head ready to, like, you know, and the baby is screaming, and it's zoomed in on this child's face, and this baby is like, looks fucking terrified. Yeah, it's like 9 months old, something like that. Where's the outrage for that kind of shit? That child is probably scarred for life, bro. Those are your most formative years. How many takes did they have to do of that as well? I always find that so strange when we've got kids crying or like genuinely looking distressed or whatever for films, and it's like, no one's getting outraged about that. That's also child exploitation. It's weird that everyone's like performatively outraged for this, but not everything else. And I genuinely think it is because men don't want to have the conversation about the fact that there is this weird period that men seemingly are attracted to young girls, even though they know it's like not acceptable to act on those feelings. Like, I saw Vosh, was it? When Mr. Girl, he's a YouTuber, he did this weird Cuties review that, you know, was crazy. Vosh, another streamer type person, I'm sure that's when it happened, had this conversation, I think it was Mr. Girl, or it was about the Cuties thing, whatever, where it was, Mr. Girl said, at what age are most men attracted to like young women, girls, whatever, something around that. And anyway, Bosch ended up saying that he thinks a lot of men are attracted to 15-year-olds.
Androids. Fucking perfect replicas. The strip thing again. No one is getting hurt. They just look exactly like humans. My question is, which club is the most popular? My question is, where do you think we're at? And I'm asking it in kind of a exciting way because we're in public. But where do you
Is that
think we're
exciting?
at? What is
I genuinely don't think that much has been done to culturally disbar the average modern guy from the
so
attitudes that we had back in antiquity
okay?
towards
So
women and attractiveness towards women.
what number?
I think it would be
You do
somewhere
not want
from
to answer this
14.
question.
No, I think it'd be somewhere from 14 to 17. I don't think
Which one?
we've changed.
Those are big. That's a big
I have
difference.
no idea, and I couldn't
Which
even begin to think by which categories I would separate.
I think that is also true. I think it's fucking disgusting. But I do think it's true. And if that is true, then that's the conversation we need to be having. Um, and the fact that, you know, society is clearly geared towards male desires and what men want. I think the film highlights really well, like this sort of dichotomy as a teenage girl between trying to find who you are as a person and then, you know, who your community is, and your like cultural background, and balancing societal expectations. Good girl, bad girl. And at the end of the film, what we see is that the girl ends up going, you know what? I don't like this. This is grim. I don't like it. Which is good. I think it highlighted as well, if we push like progressive femininity or feminism or whatever too much, as we have, then the response is going to be to revert to traditional femininity, which is just as, if not more dangerous than more dangerous for women. I think there's a really interesting sort of opposition between the shame that was experienced by the young girl for progressive feminism and how public that was, versus the shame that her mother felt from traditional feminism or femininity or whatever you want to call it, and how private and secretive that was, and hidden away. And I think that's also sort of an element that no one really talked about with that film. The girl, she's there posting shit online. She's you know, being really brazen in class. She's out and about in the city, twerking and doing weird shit and wearing makeup and showing off and all of this kind of stuff. And her mum was doing the complete opposite. She would go quietly to a couple of elder women for advice, and they would quietly tell her in secret, listen, you do what is best for your husband and for your family and for your community and for tradition, and that's what you do, and you stay quiet and you just pray, and you pray by yourself, because Muslim women are largely not really going to the mosque, not really encouraged. You do that shit in private, you do that by yourself, you deal with it on your own. So I thought that opposition was quite interesting as well. And once again, no one fucking spoke about it. No one even noticed, I don't think. Well, most people commenting on the film hadn't even seen it. Insane. Yeah, I think it brought up a lot of really interesting aspects of like the dichotomy between feminism and traditionalism. Because there are aspects of progressive feminism that have gone too far, and part of that is the societal sort of acceptance of the sexualization of children, of young girls, of like female freedom being hypersexuality. You know, like something I've found really uncomfortable over the last few years is the Cardi B's, Megan Thee Stallion's, Doja Cat's of the world. Where they're all bad girls, and this is a good thing. You should be proud of being a bad girl because you're independent. Meh, meh, meh. Cardi B has this: good girls do as they told. Broke girls do what they can. Good girls do what they told. Bad girls do what they want. Something, 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 something. And it's like, either you're independent or you're a good girl. That's it. And honestly, this narrative has been sold since, as far as I could tell, to be honest. Britney Spears, Destiny's Child, all of them, they were all selling the exact same narrative. And I just don't... Either way, it's always for men. Like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion's song, WAP. They are supposedly representing female sexual freedom. And yet, Cardi B's lines in that song is like, I want to gag, I want to choke, tie me up. All of that kind of stuff. That doesn't sound like sexual freedom to me. That sounds like being sexually promiscuous for the gratification of men. I don't see what's empowering about any of that stuff. Like, it's a really strange thing. Doja Cat is a whole nother thing. I've done a previous video on her. You can go and look at that. She's like a whole nother level. she's literally, well, anyway, another time. But it's always being sexually promiscuous for men. That's the idea. That's like what's meant to be empowering for women. It's like, no, no. And then you've got the opposite being sort of represented by the Beyoncés of the world now. Well, always, actually, she's always represented this. Of like, you're one of the most sexually desired women in the world, and yet when your husband publicly humiliates you by cheating on you and not respecting your vows, all of that, you're just meant to forgive them in the name of being a good woman, a good wife. You know, neither works for me. I don't like either. I don't think either of them are about women. It's always about men. If you're dressing super sexual, you're doing it for men, really. You want attention from men. If you're covering up loads, you're doing it for respect from men. That's what you're doing it for. So that you aren't objectified by men. And you'll still get objectified by men, by the way. Trust me. And it's like, where's the reasonable middle ground for this? I don't know where the middle ground is, by the way, not fully. I don't know what the remedy is, I don't know. But I just think Cuties was a really good way of commenting on that sort of dichotomy between the progressive and the traditional, and the dangers of the extremes of both, and the need for some kind of synthesis between the two. I think that's what I think. I think I'm just repeating myself at this stage, so we'll leave it there. Thank you to Anonymous for the comment. If you'd like to have a discussion, chat down there. I'll meet you down there. Yeah, if you've made it this far, cheers. And all the best. All right, peace and love, bye.